My husband laughed when I told him I was opening my own cafe. He called it my little project and patted me on the head. So I used that little project to design a business model so ruthlessly efficient that a private equity firm used it to stage a hostile takeover of the national coffee franchise he works for. Now, I sit on the board that decides his budget. Here's how you turn condescension into a controlling interest. My name is Amelia, I'm 37, and for 12 years, I was a ghost. I used to be a logistics director for a global shipping company. I managed fleets, optimized supply chains, and wrangled multi-million-dollar contracts. I was good at it. Then, I married David. David wasn't a CEO or a founder. He was a regional manager for a massive, soulless coffee franchise called Aroma Corp. He wore a suit, carried a briefcase, and believed his mid-level corporate job made him an industry titan. For him, for his career, I stepped back. I managed our life, our home, our social calendar. I took my logistics brain and applied it to running the intricate machine of his ambition. My own ambitions were expected to fit into a closet, brought out only when convenient. The wound. It happened, as it so often does, in front of family. It was Thanksgiving. We were all gathered, the whole clan, and David was holding court, talking about AromaCorp's aggressive expansion strategy. Someone, an aunt I think, politely asked me what I was planning to do now that our son was in school full-time. I took a deep breath and told them I was finally going to do it. I was going to open my own small coffee shop. The table went quiet. David let out a short, sharp laugh. He looked around the table, a smug, indulgent smile on his face, and delivered the line that would become the fuel for my entire future. He said it was adorable that I wanted a little place to play shopkeeper. He said it would be good for me to have a hobby, to sell my little muffins and lattes. He then looked right at me, his voice dripping with condescension, and said that while he was busy running a real business, he fully supported my cute little project. He might as well have thrown a glass of water in my face. The room was thick with humiliation. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I felt a switch flip in my brain. It was a cold, clean, surgical click. I wasn't just his wife anymore. I was his future competition. I didn't just want to open a cafe. I wanted to build a weapon. The divorce was a formality, a business transaction. He thought I was broken. I was just liquidating assets. I took my half of the money and didn't waste a penny. I found a small, overlooked location on a street with decent foot traffic but cheap rent. He saw a rundown storefront. I saw untapped potential. I called it the Daily Alchemy. While David was attending corporate retreats and writing synergy memos, I was in that dusty space until 3 a.m., designing a workflow. I wasn't thinking about decor. I was thinking about seconds saved per transaction. While he was playing golf with other AromaCorp executives, I was on the phone with a small, family-run coffee roaster in Colombia, negotiating a direct trade deal that cut out 5 middlemen. I used every ounce of my logistics background. I created a supply chain so efficient my cost of goods was 30% lower than the industry standard. I built a business, not a hobby. The war started 6 months after I opened. The Daily Alchemy was a success, a huge success. The neighborhood loved it. The profits were staggering for a single-location shop. David was no longer amused. He was annoyed. His attack was clumsy, corporate, and predictable. He used his influence at AromaCorp to get a new franchise location approved right across the street from me. It was a classic predatory move, designed to starve me out with 2-for-1 coupons and brand recognition. That was his attack. My counterattack was to be better. In every way. His coffee was mediocre and automated. Mine was perfect and handcrafted. His staff were disenfranchised hourly workers. My staff were well-paid, well-trained partners in my success. While his soulless corporate box sat half-empty, my cafe was alive. It was a community hub. I didn't just survive his attack. I used it to sharpen my brand. I was David. He was Goliath. And everyone loves to root for David. But beating one of his stores wasn't the endgame. That was just the pilot program. For a year, I perfected my model. I documented every process, every efficiency, every supply chain hack. I created a replicable, scalable, dangerously profitable blueprint for a small footprint, high-yield cafe. Then, I went hunting for a bigger Goliath. I didn't go to a bank. I went to a private equity firm, a young, aggressive firm that specialized in hostile takeovers of bloated, underperforming public companies. Companies exactly like AromaCorp. I didn't ask them to invest in my little cafe. I presented them with a turnkey system to replace AromaCorp's entire broken, inefficient model from the inside out. They didn't just see a cafe. They saw a corporate coup. The checkmate was swift and brutal. The firm created a new subsidiary, with me as a founding partner and a member of the board. They began quietly buying up AromaCorp stock. Within 6 months, they had a controlling interest. The public announcement of the takeover sent a shockwave through the company. The entire C-suite was fired. A new management team was installed. My management team? David found out the same way everyone else did. A company-wide email. I'm told he spent the entire day in a panic, trying to figure out who the new owners were, trying to save his job. He was summoned to a mandatory regional leadership transition meeting the following Monday. He walked into the main boardroom at corporate headquarters, a nervous smile plastered on his face, ready to impress his new, faceless bosses. He looked towards the head of the long, polished table, and he saw me. I was sitting in the chairman's seat, looking over a file. I let him stand there for a full 10 seconds before I looked up. I didn't smile. I didn't say a word. I just met his gaze. And in that moment, he knew. He knew that the woman whose dream he'd called a cute little project now owned the company that signed his paychecks. His little shopkeeper was now his boss. His department's performance is up for review next week. I'll be leading the meeting.